I first got to know RivkA about 27 years ago in Teaneck, where we both lived, on Gay Shabbat of the local youth movement. And it didn't take me very long to see very, very special qualities that she had. Back then, I also knew her as Karen, which is what she still is to me to this day. When we met up again here in Israel, all the wonderful things about her, her idealism, her warmth, all these things showed themselves to me even stronger, and it didn't take me very long to fall in love with her and to realize with 100% absolute certainty that this is the woman that I want to marry. It took her a little bit more time. I remember around that time, when she was working for Yad Nolami, there was a time that I was at Bravender's, the yeshiva. This is years after I learned there, but I was there, and she came over that day and was doing recruitment for Yad Nolami, and there was a guy from the yeshiva, I don't remember who he was, but I was standing next to him, and he leaned over and said to me as she was speaking, he said, "One day, guy who marries her is going to be a very lucky man." So I'm that lucky man. And I've been blessed by God to have been her husband for 17 years. There are lots and lots of things that I could talk about RivkA. I could probably stand here for a week and talk about all kinds of different things, wonderful things about her. I'm just going to speak about one thing, 1.5 things. I want to speak a little bit about what was probably the most important thing of all in her life, which is her family. Children. And I want to speak also a little bit about her optimism. Chanel pointed out before that life for RivkA for the last 15 years, 16 years has been very, very difficult and filled with lots of suffering. It didn't start with when she got cancer. She had all kinds of illnesses and physical tribulations. Her focus through all this time was on her family and her children. When she never bemoaned her condition and say, "This is so unfair, why is this happening to me, this is wrong," and cry about it. She did cry about it. She cried about how it prevented her from being a proper mother to her children. I remember when Menachem Daniel was a baby and RivkA became infected with some strange thing that the doctors never figured out entirely, but she was stuck in the hospital for weeks. And she cried and cried over the fact that she couldn't be with Menachem Daniel to take care of him. That's what she cried about. When Eliza was a baby, she was hospitalized too. And I'm sure there are a lot of you here who remember. It was very, very important to her that she nursed Eliza every day. And she was stuck in a hospital bed, and she spent her time in the hospital bed with her cell phone, making phone calls all the time, arranging schedules for people to come 3 times a day to bring Eliza to her so she could nurse her. And I'm going to tell you about something that happened at that time. I'm telling you with permission. Rivka's sister Aviva came to her one day and she said, "What are you doing here? What is this? You're making everyone crazy." She's old enough that it's okay if she doesn't nurse. Maybe it's the best thing to nurse, but there are babies who don't nurse already at this age. It's okay. She'll manage. You don't have to drive everyone nuts. Look at what you're making them do. And she said, "This is the only thing I can do for my baby. I have nothing else I can give her." "How could you stop me from doing this? This is all I can give her." A number of months ago, I was hospitalized. Thank God for a brief time. I had kidney stones, which were excruciatingly painful, and this was already. RivkA was suffering a great deal from her cancer and the effects of the chemotherapy that she was being treated with. I was hospitalized for, I remember, 2-3 days, something like that. She insisted on coming to the hospital and sitting with me, sitting there all night next to my bed to take care of me. And I told her to go home, and she wouldn't. The night I finally convinced her it was okay to go home for the night. She could come back in the morning. She came back in the morning and saw where the nurse or the doctor had tried to give me, put an IV in my arm and had messed it up and stuck it in the wrong place, and I had a black and blue mark, and she got furious. And then when the doctor came again to do it, "We'll try again now," she said, No, you're not doing this. I'm not going to let you do this to him anymore." She threw him out. She threw him out, and she said, "I know who in this hospital knows how to do this right." And she went and she got him. She said, "Come, you're coming to this ward. You're gonna give my husband an IV." He said, "I don't work in that ward." "Well, right now you do. You're coming. You're going to do it." And he did. A few months ago, just shortly before Eliza's bat mitzvah, Aviva, Rivka's sister, was sick, quite sick, and she was home in bed. And Rivka told her that she wanted to come over there and take care of her. First of all, Rivka was going through a very, very difficult time in terms of the cancer, in terms of the chemo. It was a week before the bat mitzvah, which she insisted on organizing every aspect of that she could. And she wanted to come over then, a week before the bat mitzvah, when she was sick, to come and take care of her sister. Didn't only because her sister insisted that she wouldn't let her. We got the news from our oncologist about 3 weeks ago about what he expected to happen over the coming days and weeks, and which unfortunately is exactly what happened. We knew 3 weeks ago that this is what was likely, what was to be expected. Now, RivkA every single year made a point of arranging meetings with the teachers of each of the children, separate from the general Asefat Horim that they have in the schools at the beginning of the year, to make sure that the teachers know all the things that need to be known about each individual child of ours, to know how to deal with them correctly, how to give them what they need. We had she arranged individual meetings with them at the beginning of each year, and this year was no different. We're still pretty close to the beginning of the school year. It was only a few weeks ago that RivkA arranged those meetings for this year, and it was just a few days after she made the arrangements that we got the news. And I said, I'll go to the meetings. I'll do them this year. And she said, what are you talking about? She insisted on coming and doing these meetings. We met the day after the doctor told us that RivkA was almost definitely going to die in a couple of weeks. We had a meeting with Menachem Daniel's teacher where she sat and spoke with him about all of Menachem's needs and how to help him in the right way. All the details. The meeting with Yafa's teacher, she was already hospitalized by the time that the day scheduled for that came. She wanted to hold the meeting. The teacher came to the hospital. We had the meeting there. I can't begin to tell you the amount of strength that RivkA had, that I saw in these last 2-3 weeks. She handled it a lot better than I did. There were these nights when I was at home with her and I broke down and I cried and I cried. And she tried to comfort me. She's going to die and she's trying to comfort me because I'm crying. She was at peace with the fact that she was going to die. The thing that she cried about was about the children, about leaving them and leaving me. She said, how can I leave them? That's what she cried about. Somebody very close to her, about a week and a half ago, I don't remember exactly, told her, I believe when she was already in the hospital, told her that she is very angry with God for what God has done to RivkA. And this disturbed RivkA a lot. She said, no, don't say that, you're wrong. She said, I have nothing to be angry with God about. She said, I'm the most blessed person in the world. Look at all the things that God has given me in my life. And then she proceeded to list them. And I give you a small illustration of what she means by that, what she sees as the important blessings in her life. I'm sure, I know that a lot of you have been reading for the last 3 years RivkA's blog. The second to last post on her blog that she did, she wrote it on paper in her hospital bed, and friends transferred it onto the blog and posted it. And she wrote in her life, it was called Religious Revelation. She wrote that she had, in the hospital, in her bed, she felt that she had a revelation. She suddenly realized something very important that God had done for her. And that was, well, I printed it out just before I came here. I'll read it to you.